How do you guys feel for this exam 4?
Not good.
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling good until I watched your April video, like your April recording,
Yeah.
where you went over the even just a couple questions of the practice exam.
Mm-hmm.
But I still, like, for me personally, I struggle. Ratios I'm like fine with, like that one's fine. But as far as like when to use like the MPV versus PV versus like future value, like I don't know which one to use. For me personally, I don't know.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
I feel like in general, people are struggling more with chapter 12 than 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, and especially because they're gonna give you the ratio, so that makes it easier for chapter 14.
And then I heard that there's going to be more questions on chapter 12 than on 14. Is that right?
Yeah. So I've heard that there's only like 1 or 3 questions for chapter 14.
Yeah.
But it's
and
a
it's like a
long
big
question.
one.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
That's rough with 20 questions.
What was that?
So that's rough with 20 questions and chapter 12 being so hard.
Yeah.
I find it interesting because my professor said this is typically the easiest test and the one that everybody pulls their grade up on.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to experience the exact opposite.
It depends on the person, because like for some, exam 3 is the hardest one. Like for me, it was exam 3. Oh no, it was exam 4. It was this one. But there are so many students that exam 3 was the hardest one, or exam 1. So it depends on the person. Okay, so I'm gonna start with these formulas right here. In case you don't know, I did this post yesterday with all like the most important things that I think you should study for this exam. So for chapter 12, you need to remember how to get present value of cash flows, which is called present value of cash flows, but you can use the net present value formula, and that's the easiest way. The other ways you can use finding the present value for every single year and then add them all together, or you can multiply every total times the factor number and then add them all together. But with net present value, you simply do net present value, the rate, and then you highlight all these numbers.
So is there ever a time, so one question I had is there ever a time that you include the initial investment amount in that, or is it always just everything like year 1 through 5?
Always from year 1, because now this is already the present value of now because it's the present. Okay. So you always start with 1. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the net present value for the project is the sum of these two. Well, it's actually the subtraction, but because we're doing the cash flow negative, then yeah, you do the sum formula. So yeah, another thing for this table is these are the 2 things, the most important things that you need to remember. You don't really have to memorize like all of these, like initial investment, working capital, cash flow, like perfectly. You can just like read the question and remember like, okay, this is the initial investment, and then they give me salvage value. So the order of these things don't really matter. So just remember these 2 formulas.
So on that one, like I know you did an example on one of in that recording. So like how do we know like that salvage value doesn't match? Well, so this one, it doesn't have the salvage value that you have to add in, because the other one had a salvage value, right? So that, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it depends. If they give you salvage value of an old machine that they're going to sell right now, you add it in now. But if it's a salvage machine for this new machine, at the end of the years, then you add it at the end, like in
right.
The,
okay.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
So salvage value of an old machine that you're getting rid of, you add it right here in now.
Like if you're replacing the machine right then, like, because
Right.
they assume that you apply it to the initial investment.
Right. Yeah, like you're going to buy a new one that costs like 330,000, then you're gonna sell the old one, then that salvage value will go here. But the salvage value of the new one will go in the last year.
Are we gonna do a couple examples like that or no? Like, do we
Yeah,
have?
that's gonna
Okay.
be the first question.
Okay,
So these three formulas are super important. Simple rate of return is net operating income divided by initial investment. Then payback period, if the cash flow is the same for every year, then initial investment divided by cash flows. And then the PPI is present value of cash flows. So this one that we use, net present value formula, divided by initial investment. They all have initial investment, just remember like the order of them, of these formulas.
One thing that helped,
we need to memorize, right?
Sorry, what was
Yep.
that?
These ones are formulas we need to memorize.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
These
and
three.
I was just gonna say one thing that helped me with those is on payback, I tell myself it's backwards, and so that the initial investment goes first, because the other two, the initial investments at the end.
Mhm.
And so I just remember, oh, it's payback, it's backwards, so that's the only one, the initial investment is first.
That's good.
Great.
That's a
Yeah.
good tip. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. This is also important. If they give you cash flows, but you need net operating income, like you need the simple rate of return, and you know that it's net operating income divided by initial investment, but they give you the cash flow, then you can subtract depreciation and get net operating income. Or if they give you net operating income, but you need cash flow because maybe they're asking you for the payback period, then you add depreciation back. So remembering this little graph is really important too. And here is just the same, but in a formula. And sometimes they won't give you depreciation. So what you do is you get the investment required, and then if they give you salvage value of the old machine, of the same machine, then you subtract it, and then you divide it by the useful life in years.
So in this particular case, like it would be, well, so say it was like, so say after 5 years, it was like $5,000. Is that where you put it in?
Yeah, let's say that this one is $5,000. So we do 330,000 minus 5,000, and then we divide it by 5 because that's the life of the investment. So 65,000. So that's depreciation for this one.
So there should always be a depreciation. So if they don't give you one, you just need to know that there's still going to be a depreciation.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll say like straight line too, won't they? They'll say straight line depreciation.
So that's what it means. Yeah, that's a good question. It means that you just divide it by the years, the useful life in years. And so they will either give you a net operating income, like an income cash flow, where it will give the depreciation already. If not, this is what you do. But you only subtract the salvage value of the same machine, not the old machine. Okay? The old machine, the only thing that affects the old machine is the initial investment. Because how we just said, the salvage value of the old machine, we added here, so it will change the total investment. So salvage value of the new machine affects depreciation. Salvage value of an old machine affects initial investment. And that's yeah, go ahead.
So that investment required, do you factor in, like say there's an old machine, you do the original amount, or do you do it with the after the machine? Does that make sense? Like So say you did 330, but then there was the old salvage of like, say, 5,000. So
Mhm.
do you, to find the depreciation, do you use the 330,000 for investment required, or do you use the 325? Because I think there was an example somewhere in there.
Yeah, just the 330.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is a really common missed question in the exam. Remember, like the difference of the salvage value of a new machine and old machine. And the last thing is, maybe they'll ask you a question like true or false, or like about fact. Remember what the difference of screening and preference decision. So screening is when you see like the net present value or the simple rate of return to see if an investment is desirable. And then the preference decisions is just seeing like different options of investments and choosing the best one. Now for chapter 14, well, they'll give you all the ratios, but if you, I think it's a good practice if you do the practice problem of chapter 14, because it's a long question with different, like, I think it's all the ratios. So I think that'd be a good practice for chapter 14. And then I think like the most tricky things is finding the number of shares outstanding, which is the common stock from the balance sheet, and then you divide that by the par value, and that will give you how many shares there are. Then they will tell you the dividends per share or not. If they don't, you can just get the total dividends paid. Like if they say they paid $75,000 in the year, then you just divide that by the number of shares outstanding to find the dividends per share.
Yeah, that killed me on the quiz. I was so confused because all the practices that we had been given, they gave us that number. And I was like, I don't see that number anywhere. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you know.
I figured that part out, and I still got a bunch of stuff that was off. So
Yeah, that one I couldn't. I was like, it does. And I went back and because it was open book, so I was going through all the other questions, and I'm like, every other question they had given us that number. And so I was like, well, I'm missing 2 questions right away off the top because I can't figure out the dividends per share here. Like I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. And another thing is that maybe you know how to do it, but they give you like, they paid 75,000, like they write 75 number and then 1,000 in letters, and then you just like divide the 75 by the number of shares outstanding, but maybe you got this one in 100. So just like make sure like if they're giving you the numbers in thousands or if they're giving you the total number, because if number of shares outstanding is 100,000 and they did 75,000 dividends, but you divide 75,000 divided by only 100 instead of 100,000, then that will give you a wrong number too.
And the common stock, that's usually on the balance sheet and it'll say like common stock, but it usually gives you a dollar amount, right? So,
Yeah.
so the answer is right there. Like you just take that first, like in the current number or whatever, the current year of common stock, and then you divide it by the number that's there. So it's not the average common stock then.
No,
Hmm.
no, it's like, let's see if I can find can you see this folder
Yeah.
right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that part killed me on that quiz. I was so frustrated with that question.
Yeah. Okay, maybe this one. No,
doesn't have the bar. Yeah.
okay, this one, like 160,000,
Mhm.
and then $5 is par value. So you divide 160,000 by 5, and that will give you the number of shares outstanding.
Okay, and then. Okay, and then so there your number of shares extending with that, and then you would use that number for, what was the second part you were just talking about?
There are some ratios that they ask you, number of shares outstanding,
Yeah,
or you can also use that to find the dividends per share. because then like if they give you, they pay total this much for dividends in the whole year, then you divide that by the number of shares outstanding.
Okay.
And that's where you would use that like 6, whatever it was, like the
Yeah, so the 160,000. So let's
divided by
say,
5, so.
yeah, if we say 160,000 divided by 5, there are 32,000 shares outstanding, and let's say they paid $75,000 total in dividends. So you do 75,000 divided by 32,000. So that means they pay $2.34 per dividend, which usually would be like cents or less than $1. But
Yeah, thank you. That helps. That was very frustrating.
yeah, there's a ratio, I don't remember which one that is, it says earnings before interest expense and income taxes. Oh, up to here. So that is the same as net operating income.
Yeah.
And remember that a common size financial statement is horizontal. So the horizontal ones are when you like compare different years, and the vertical is when you compare it like with only 1 year, but everything is based on sales, like sales is 100% or total assets is 100%. Okay.
I had a note from another video that said the trend analysis was the horizontal.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that, Natalia, because it says, I'm reading in the book and it says common size financial statement is a vertical analysis. Then on the other
That's
page,
true.
it says horizontal is a trend.
Mhm.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Oh, there's another thing that I wanted to tell you. Is if you watch the video for the instructor, like the study video for exam 4,
Mhm.
he will say that project profitability index is net present value of the project divided by initial investment. And that's wrong. It's the present value of cash flows. So yeah, that might be confusing.
Okay, so just to clarify, so common size is the vertical.
Yeah. And trend
then-
analysis is horizontal.
Common is vertical and what is horizontal?
The trend.
Oh,
Yeah, the trend is horizontal. Okay, so now I'm gonna share this one. Okay. Do you guys prefer like how we've been doing, like you? Oh, by the way, this Excel is on Inscribe right now if you want to download it. So do you guys want to like take your time and let me know the answer for the question, or do you want to solve it all together?
We solve it all together.
Okay, sounds good. So for this one, there's a new machine that they're going to buy, it's 300,000. And they're going to get rid of an old machine, and the salvage value is 7,000. The useful life in years of the new machine is 6 years. And the salvage value of that new machine after 6 years is 12,000. It will reduce labor by 100,000. And then there's a working capital of 2,500 that they will get after the 6 years. And the minimum required rate of return is 10%. So what is the net present value of the project? I'm gonna turn the light on. Okay. So for this one, we can use the table. We can do now, and then 1, 2, up to 6 years. I'm gonna move it here. So the first thing is the initial investment. And what would be the initial investment?
300,000.
Yeah. and we're writing negative. Now we have the salvage value of the old machine.
That will be
Natalia, where is this Excel at? It's not the practice test, right? It's not the review practice.
No, that's in the same post where I said that we're gonna do a group video call.
Okay.
Yeah, you can find it there. So this 7,000 of salvage value, where would it go?
right in the now, but with positive.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, and the salvage value for the new machine is 12,000. So where does it go?
Is year 6.
Okay, now if it says reduce labor cost per year, that's cash inflow or cash flow.
1 through 6.
Yes, so 100,000. Oh, let's see. Okay. And then there's a working capital. So is that negative or positive?
So do you have to put it in? Well, there it would be negative, right? In the now,
Yeah.
then you would put
No.
it back in year 6.
Yeah. And that's working capital release. So 2,500. And then I like to just write down the rate over here, 10%. Okay, so now we can do the totals. We just do a sum for all of them. Well, what is next?
The NPV.
Yeah. Well, this one is P,
Oh, this one's the present value. Yep.
yeah, of cash flows. But we do use the NPV formula.
Yeah.
The rate is 10%. And then all of these totals from 1 through 6. And now the NPV of the project, which is a sum of these two. Okay, and that's the final answer. So questions about this question? Questions about this?
Can you hold on just 1 second? Okay. Let's see. And then,
Sorry.
so that PV of cash flows, can you
I'll
go
just
through that one again?
Yeah, me too.
PV of cash flows?
Yeah, how'd you get that 440? Is that the, yeah,
Yeah,
Can
so
you-
you do the NPV formula, and then it's just the rate, comma, and then the totals from year 1 through 6. The other thing that you can do, but it's just, it takes longer, is you can do the present value formula with the rate, the year, and then the payment, I think in negative. And then you do the same for second year, so present value, rate, the year, and the payment in negative.
And then the teacher also showed us too, like when you're putting in the, like once you put like equals NPV, then you hit the FX up at the function up at the top. And it pops up a box,
Oh yeah,
and then you can enter it in there.
yeah,
And
that's true.
that's another way to do it.
Yeah, and if you do the present value of every year and then you do a sum, should give you the same that we got, right?
Isn't your amount, shouldn't it have gone in the future value, not the payment in your formula?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, thank you. So another comma, and then the future value.
Wait, do we need to know this for the exam to do?
No, I'm just showing it like in case this is the way you do it. And just showing you like this is the same number, but NPV is the easiest way that you can find the present value of cash flows. Okay.
So you just go with the rate and then you take from years 1 through 6, and then you just enter, and then you get that number, and then you do the sum of the total plus the cash flows. And then that's how you get the final answer.
Yeah,
Okay.
because net present value of the project is the difference of the initial investment, so this one, and the present value of cash flows,
Okay.
or the difference of present value of cash inflows and cash outflows. Okay.
So can I give y'all, everybody in here, just a little tip? So Natalia is my tutor a couple times a week. Set your spreadsheet up just like she has done here, and everything will work out okay.
That's what I learned watching her video before. Like, no
Yeah.
matter what, use this.
Yep. In fact, I saved it on my computer as Natalia's template. So
Yeah,
it works.
Natalia's template, but it's actually not mine.
So
Yeah,
I'm just giving you guys a little hand. Just set it up just like that, and you can get the answer every time.
Because the explanation of the quizzes and homework, they use the factor number, but that's just like making it more complicated, and then you will have to memorize the formula for that. So yeah, just using this net present value formula is so much easier. Okay, so now this one is a little bit tricky.
Yeah, that one was one I had issues on because it doesn't give you part of the answer.
Yeah, so they give you a machine cost, there's no salvage value, life in years, there's a straight line depreciation, and the payback in years 5. And they ask you what is the simple rate of return. So who can tell me the formula for simple rate of return?
That's the annual incremental net operating income by the initial investment.
Awesome. Yeah, but we don't have net operating income. We do have the initial investment. So if they they don't give you the cash flow either, because then you can just like subtract depreciation to find net operating income. So if you find a question like this that seems kind of impossible, just look at what they're giving you. So they're giving you payback in years. You can see the formula of payback period, and then see if you can get any information from that. So payback is it initial investment divided by cash flows?
Yeah, initial investment required by annual net cash inflow. So would it be the 5 equals the 72,000 over X?
Yeah. So 5 equals 72,000, and this is what we're trying to find. We can find cash flows here. So if we do 72,000 divided by 5, this will be the cash flows. 14,400.
So payback is initial investment divided by cash flows.
Right here. Yeah. So now we have cash flows. What do we have to do to get net operating income?
Depreciation.
Yeah. But we don't have depreciation. So how can we find that?
Divide 72,000 by 9.
Yeah.
Which is 8,000.
What if you have a salvage value? What would we do?
Then you subtract the salvage value from the machine cost.
Yeah, perfect. Only if it's the salvage value of the new machine, not the old one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So depreciation is 8,000. So do we subtract it or add it to cash flows?
So you have the you subtract it, right?
Yeah.
We subtract the again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that little chart. So we have the cash flow, but we're trying to find the net operating income. So we have to do subtract, but if we had the net operating income and trying to find the cash flow, then you would add it.
Mhm.
I think it's kind of helpful too, just to look at it as like a little mini income statement. So
Yeah.
you've got your income of the 14,400, you're subtracting your depreciation to get your net operating income. And so I always just picture that in my head. And if it's the cash flow one, I know that that's it's lacking in the financial statement presentation because the depreciation isn't there. So if I just always compare it to a financial statement, then it helps to not get confused on what you're doing and what you're trying to get at.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Do you mind telling me again how you got the depreciation?
So
Of
you
8,000.
divide the machine cost divided by the useful life in years. So yeah, so we subtract depreciation from cash flows, and now we get net operating income. So now we can finally do the simple rate of return. So simple rate of return is net operating income divided by initial investment. So now we have net operating income, and then initial investment is 72,000. So that divided by that. So this is the answer. And because simple rate of return is a percentage, then it'd be 8.89 or 8.9.
And it will tell us how many decimals to.
Yeah, well,
I know
there,
The
I'm pretty sure
practice
that,
one didn't, and so.
but the good thing is that the exam is multiple choice, so you can just see which one it is.
Okay.
Okay, so now payback. Now we need to find payback and simple rate of return again. In this one, we have the machine cost, the useful life in years, the salvage value of this new machine after 8 years, and then it will reduce labor cost per year by 5,000. So let's do the payback first. So what is the payback?
72,000. Oh, it's the initial investment divided by the, is it the annual incremental or the, what is it called?
Annual cash flows.
Yeah,
Cash
annual
flows,
cash flow, like what's coming in.
Yeah. So we do, and we have those two. So we have initial investment, and then if reduces cost, then that's a cash flow. So that's the first question. Now simple rate of return again. What is it again?
That one is, I just had it too. That's the annual incremental net operating income by the initial investment.
Okay, so we don't have the net operating income, only the initial investment. What can we do?
So this is the formula, the annual incremental cost savings minus the annual depreciation divided
Yeah.
by the life.
So let's find depreciation first. So how is it?
42,500 divided by 8.
Yeah.
I think we have to subtract the salvage value first.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh, that's right on that one, huh?
If it was the salvage value of the old machine, then we don't. Divided by 8. Okay. And now we can subtract that to get net operating income. So the cash flow minus depreciation. So net operating income is 937. Okay. So now we can do the formula. So simple rate of return is the net operating income.
I'm sorry, I missed, what did you subtract for the NOI?
Mental, or the 5,000, so the cash flow.
Yeah,
minus
so this is the
depreciation.
cash flow.
Minus the 4,000.
Mhm. Yeah, so you subtract depreciation from cash flow to get net operating income. And now simple rate of return is net operating income divided by the initial investment. And this is a percentage too, so 2.21.
And then, sorry, could you click on that again?
This one.
Yeah, thank you.
And right here is the formula too. Okay. So this is how we found payback if the cash flow is the same for every year, because they say that it's 5,000 every single year. This one is finding
Sorry.
payback.
Sorry, can you go back a little bit?
Okay, for
Um,
this one.
Yeah, how did you get a depreciation? I didn't watch that side.
So you have to subtract the cost of the machine minus its salvage value, and then you divide it by the useful life in years.
Okay,
Okay, so the payback for if the cash flows are all different. How do you guys do that? Do you remember?
So don't you have to take what the cash inflow is minus like the investment?
Yeah. Yeah, so right here I would write down like the difference or like what you have left over. And then you do investment minus the cash flow, so you still have 3,800. But then there's another investment here, so you can do this one plus the second investment, and then minus the cash inflow. That's 4,000.
Can you do that 4,000 again? I'm sorry, you do.
So the difference of the year one
Uh-huh.
plus the new investment, and then minus the cash flow
Okay.
of that year.
Thank you.
So when you get the 4,000, so do we still have to account for the 300?
For the 300, which one?
Like so the difference between like the 4,300 and the 4,000?
Well, you're looking at this one because you have, after this 4,300, you still have 4,000 left.
Oh, okay.
So now we're doing the third year, so 4,000, and because there's no another investment, we just simply subtract the cash flow of the third year, 2,000, and then we can keep going because this one is only 600. Okay, so by year 4, we have 1,400 left, and the next year is 4,800. So that's gonna be over. And if we do it, well, obviously it's gonna give a negative number. So what we do here is you divide this one, the difference of the year before, and then divide it by the cash flow of the next year. So 0.29. So, and now you just have to add these two together. So in 4.29 years, you're gonna get the whole investment back. Does it make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Now, if they give you an investment, 56,000, and then they give you project profitability index, it's 0.267. What is present value of cash flows?
So it's Oh, so you're gonna have to do 0.267 equals X over 5,600, is that right? Or is it the other way around?
How do you know that?
Well, because we don't have the present value, so that's so it's present value over the investment required.
Yeah, so you're doing the project profitability index.
Yep. So we have the 2.67.
Yeah. So this one, the formula is present value of cash flows divided by,
Investment required.
is that right? Isn't it the other way around? Okay. So yeah, so you have this one and we have the investment, we're finding present value of cash flow. So doing algebra, we will multiply investment in the two sides and that will give us the present value of cash flows. So if we do investment is 56,000 and this one is 0.267, then present value is these two multiplied together, and that's the answer. In the, that's when I told you that there's a mistake in the video, because when he went through a question like this is not the final answer. He will go back and add like initial investment again to find the, because he had the formula wrong, but this is actually right. It's just that they changed the formula like 2 semesters ago when they changed the class. It's interesting, but yeah. Okay. Now this one. If discount rate is 10% and net present value of the project is 0, what is the internal rate of return?
So it's investment required over annual net cash inflow.
This one is just 10%.
Yeah. How do you know that?
Because the discount rate is given and the project is 0. So we cannot have any project that is 0. It should have some what do you call amount to cater for. So that's the 10% we have to carry on with the business.
Yeah, that's perfect. So
what if there was an amount in there? Like if there was a dollar amount in the NPV, or if there was an amount in there?
okay, so the amount doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Just if it's 0, positive, or negative. So if NPV is 0, that means that the discount rate and the internal rate of return is the same. If it's positive, that means that the internal rate of return is greater than the discount rate. And if net present value is negative, then discount rate is greater than internal rate of return.
What if net present value was 2, for example?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
What if net present value was 2?
Then if it's still 2 positive, then we know the internal rate of return is greater.
So it wouldn't be worded like this though, right?
Yeah, so it won't give, this one they give you a number just because it's the same. Yeah.
We shouldn't miss this one on the test, basically.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Natalia. The positive side you said is greater or less?
So internal rate of return is greater than discount rate.
Because this sign is less sign.
Yeah, so discount rate is less than internal rate of return.
Okay, all right, got it.
Okay. And now I only have one question for chapter 14, because besides the whole question with a bunch of ratios, they might ask you a question like this one, but I think you already know the answer. So a common size financial statement is horizontal analysis, true or false?
False.
False.
Yeah, just vertical.
So I have one question on chapter 14.
Mhm.
The marketable, is it the marketable securities?
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
That's
That's
the
a good
one,
question.
that's the one I don't know, because in one of the examples, like in the practice exam, it shows like bonds payable, I think was in there. But then it wasn't that wasn't part of the, like, it was still zero. So, but I think bonds is part of marketable securities or something. But is it because it was bonds payable? Or it's not included in there, or?
Yeah, like that's the ratio.
It kind of seems like that bond question had to do with the interest rate or the interest expense. That kind of seems like what that problem was for. Does that sound familiar?
Let me look and see. It's the. Let me see.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that marketable securities is an asset. That's for this ratio. But I don't remember seeing any balance sheet with that.
Yeah,
So,
that's the acid test ratio.
yeah. Yeah, so you normally just have to, because you have to add cash, I think accounts receivable,
And then the marketable security.
and then all of that divided by accounts payable,
Average, I think.
current liabilities.
Oh yeah, current liabilities.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't remember seeing any example with marketable securities. So you usually just add these two.
Okay.
But if there is, then it would say it like marketable securities.
Oh, so it
Yeah.
will actually say, that. So we
Yeah.
don't have to try to decipher it and say like, because if you Google it, it says bonds is part of it. So when I saw that on the.
Yeah,
Got it.
I've seen it before. Usually they will tell you if it's marketable security or not. They will give you, they will tell you
Okay,
and give you the figure.
okay.
Can
And
you
I-
see it in a
and-
homework question?
Because the bond, you know, the bond is spread out in many forms. So marketable security is part of it. So they have to separate it and tell you this is what they're looking for.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I would just make sure that it's in the current assets section, because a bond payable would be in the current liability, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. I think
That was the one
all current
formula that
assets.
kept messing me up because I didn't know what to include in that marketable securities portion of it.
I
Now,
know.
they will give you.
Okay, that's great. Okay.
So Danny, do you see a homework question with that?
Actually, I have too many, what do you call it? Too many data. I don't know where I put that
Okay.
in, but I've seen it. I've seen it, I think, a couple of times that I've worked on it, and they just give you the figure of marketable security.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then
it
just put it there.
seems like it was on a earlier, just a homework question.
Well, and I know he gave a bunch of things to watch, and so it could have been in one of those too.
Got it.
There's a ton of data I have. It's very difficult to go
Yeah.
through.
And it makes sense that you're confused about that one. I was also confused, like, because I never heard of marketable securities before.
Okay, I'm glad I wasn't the only one because I was like, I don't know what to add in there.
But yeah, after learning this ratio, I learned that it was a current asset. I just never heard of it.
Okay, good to know.
Well, we have 10 minutes. So do you guys have any other questions?
This has been super helpful.
Good. And I don't want to like try to scare you with all these questions, but these are like the hardest questions that the instructors say that people miss. So that's why like it's good to practice them. So if you got this, you're gonna do well.
Yeah, thank you so much for all your help.
Yeah, that's all. Your videos are always probably the best ones on there.
Yeah, they
Thank
are
you.
for sure.
Yes, you're the only reason I'm passing.
Uh-huh.
Thanks.
So
I hope you'll
questions.
pass. Yeah.
So somebody had asked in whatever the tutoring thing is if there was any chance of doing a live final review on Saturday morning?
Yeah, I saw that, but I can't because this Saturday I'm busy the whole day. So that's why I put it for Monday morning.
Oh, bummer. Okay.
You're doing a review Monday morning?
Yeah, 9:30.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
Are we done? Are we done with everything? Or are we going through the other questions?
You mean for tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have a question, go for it.
No, because we have three SL sheets with questions, right? We just done one. No?
Oh, so I think you're talking about this. So I added the 2 Excels here, but this one is for Monday for the final exam.
Okay.
And it's actually the same Excel that you find here, exam 4 practice review. So this one.
Okay.
So that one document that you had open that had the formulas with the, like the NOI equals cash flow minus the depreciation, the one that you're working off of, is that, yeah, where is that in, like somewhere we can find it?
Yeah, it's in tutoring resources. So you click on all, and everything that is featured is like the most important post for the week.
Oh, okay.
And it's right here, important formulas.
Okay, awesome.
So you mean the Excel sheet with the 12 questions is not for this exam?
The Excel with the 12 questions.
Yeah,
It's
like
the final exam, the one that has several questions.
12
Oh,
questions.
yeah, like you mean like the Excel for the final exam or the.
I'm talking about this one, the exam 4. Because I'm seeing like 12 questions here. Is it for the final exam or for exam 4? The first question is, what do you call it? Baker Corporation applied manufacturing overhead.
That's the exam. That's the final exam.
Oh, for the final exam.
Yeah, that one's the final exam.
Okay. So the exam 4 is just what we've just done, right?
Yeah, this is just exam 4.
Okay.
And then I also did, this one is not featured, but it's right here. Is the most important formulas that I found for every single chapter. So this is for the final exam.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I was confused. I thought all the 3 sheets are come for the exam 4, so I was prepared to listen to that, but that's fine.
Yeah.
And so will you post your review from Monday?
Yeah, also. I'm
Okay.
gonna post this video too.
Okay, awesome. Thank you again. That was so.
Okay, no problem.
Monday
Good
is at
luck
the same time.
with this. Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Monday
you.
says, 9:30 a.m., right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
9:30.
9:30 a.m.
Oh, 9:30 a.m. All right.
on Monday.
Hello, Jeff.
Hi.
Can I talk to you later?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, good luck with the exam 4.
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.